Imagine a world where electricity is a luxury. Storms have wiped out the grid. Electricity bills are skyrocketing and grocery stores are empty. So, how do you keep milk fresh or butter from spoiling without modern appliances? The Amish have mastered it, using spring-cooled houses and even transforming milk into powder. These time-tested techniques could change how you think about preserving dairy. Spring houses, nature's refrigerator. When you think about refrigeration, your mind might go straight to buzzing appliances and frosty freezer sections. But for the Amish, nature offers its own elegant solution: spring houses. These structures, built over natural springs, are the ultimate off-grid refrigerators. With their cool, flowing water and timeless design, spring houses have been quietly keeping food fresh for generations. The concept is beautifully simple. The constant flow of water beneath the spring house keeps the air inside naturally chilled, regardless of the season. Milk, eggs, butter and cheese find a temporary home here, staying fresh and cold without a single watt of electricity. It's like a retreat for dairy, a peaceful vacation spot where milk stays crisp and refreshing, butter remains firm, and cheese can take its time to age gracefully. Imagine stepping into a spring house on a hot summer day. Outside, the air is thick and heavy, but inside, it's like entering a sanctuary. The temperature is significantly cooler, the air crisp and damp with the gentle scent of fresh water and dairy. The quiet murmur of the flowing stream adds an almost meditative quality to the space. It's not just functional, it's enchanting. I'll never forget my first experience in a spring house. I didn't know what to expect, but stepping inside felt like stumbling upon a hidden gem. The milk, stored in sturdy jugs, seemed to glow with freshness. When I took a sip, it was as if the cool spring had kissed every drop. It was an unforgettable moment, a reminder of how ingenious the Amish are at working with nature instead of against it. Spring houses are more than just cool storage. They're a lesson in sustainability. There are no energy bills, no maintenance calls, and no reliance on modern technology. In the heat of summer, when power outages can make refrigeration unreliable, the Amish continue unbothered, trusting in the steady rhythm of the earth to preserve their food. This method isn't just practical, it's timeless. While most of us rely on gadgets and systems to keep our perishables fresh, the Amish turn to the same solution their ancestors used centuries ago. It's a masterclass in simplicity, proving that sometimes the most effective solutions are the ones closest to nature. While spring houses harness the power of nature to keep milk fresh, what happens when you need a solution that lasts even longer? Weeks, months, or even years? How the Amish transform milk into powder. Drying milk into powder might seem like a task for factories, but for the Amish, it's a process deeply rooted in their values of hard work and self-reliance. The goal is simple: remove every drop of moisture to prevent spoilage, leaving behind a fine powder that can last for decades. The method starts with freshly collected milk, often straight from the cow. First, the milk is gently heated using wood-fired stoves or similar setups to evaporate the water content. This isn't a quick process. It requires low, consistent heat and continuous stirring to prevent scorching. Unlike industrial machines that churn out powdered milk in hours, the Amish take their time, ensuring the quality and purity of the final product. Once the milk is reduced to a paste-like consistency, it's spread thinly across trays and placed in homemade dehydrators. These dehydrators are often crafted from wood, with fine mesh trays to allow airflow. In some cases, the process is carried out in the warmth of a sunlit room, with the milk drying naturally over days. The final step is grinding the dried milk into a fine, shelf-stable powder. This powder is then stored in airtight containers, often glass jars or vacuum-sealed bags, to keep moisture out. The result? A nutrient-rich, versatile product that can last up to 25 years if stored in cool, dry conditions. For the Amish, powdered milk isn't just a practical solution, it's a cornerstone of their off-grid lifestyle. It ensures that dairy is always available, even in harsh winters or during times when milk production slows down. Its versatility makes it invaluable. It can be reconstituted into liquid milk, added to baked goods, or even used to feed livestock during challenging periods. But its importance extends beyond everyday use. In emergencies, such as long-term power outages or disruptions in food supply, powdered milk offers a reliable source of nutrition. It's also an eco-friendly alternative, eliminating the need for energy-intensive refrigeration or waste from spoiled milk. In a way, powdered milk embodies the Amish philosophy of living lightly on the earth while maximising resources. Spending time on an Amish farm taught me a profound respect for their way of life. I once watched as an Amish family painstakingly prepared powdered milk. The process was slow, requiring patience that most of us have forgotten in our fast-paced world. At one point, I asked why they didn't just use modern tools to speed things up. The answer was simple: we don't rush what matters. That sentiment stuck with me. Drying milk isn't just a preservation method, it's a symbol of their values. The effort they put into every stage of the process reflects their belief in quality, sustainability, and independence. Drying milk isn't reserved for the Amish. It's a technique you can adopt, whether you're prepping for emergencies or looking to reduce food waste. Here's how. You can start small by using a pot to gently heat milk over low heat, stirring constantly to prevent burning. Once thickened, spread the milk onto baking trays lined with parchment paper. Place the trays in an oven set to its lowest temperature or use a food dehydrator. Once fully dried, grind the pieces into a fine powder using a blender or food processor. Then keep the powdered milk in airtight containers in a cool, dry place. This method doesn't require expensive equipment, just time, patience, and a commitment to preserving food sustainably. The beauty of powdered milk lies not just in its longevity, but in its versatility. In recipes, it can stand in for fresh milk, adding richness to everything from pancakes to creamy soups. In emergencies, it provides a critical source of nutrition when fresh milk is unavailable. Even for livestock, it becomes a lifesaver during periods of drought or low production. Powdered milk is practical and long-lasting, but sometimes it's not just about preservation. It's about pure indulgence. And that's where butter comes in. Butter. If powdered milk is about preparedness, butter is just about pure satisfaction. For the Amish, making butter isn't just a preservation method, it's a tradition that blends hard work with the reward of something truly special. Turning milk into butter extends its usability while creating a kitchen staple that's as practical as it is indulgent. The process begins with fresh milk, left to settle overnight so the cream naturally rises to the top. No fancy separators here, just time and gravity doing their job. The next morning, the cream is skimmed off and poured into a churn, signalling the start of the real work. Traditional hand-crank churns or plunger-style churns are the tools of choice, both requiring a serious amount of elbow grease. If you've ever whisked something for too long, imagine that multiplied by 10. The Amish say it builds character and muscles. I remember visiting an Amish farm and offering to help churn butter. After about 5 minutes of cranking, my arms felt like jelly, and I had barely made a dent in the process. A teenage girl took over effortlessly, grinning as she said, "Tired already? This is just the warm-up." Her energy and ease made it clear. Butter making is second nature here. a skill learned and perfected through generations. The transformation from cream to butter takes about 20 minutes, though it feels much longer when you're doing the work. As the churned cream thickens, butter begins to form, along with buttermilk, a byproduct that never goes to waste. Amish families use buttermilk for baking, pancakes, or even as a refreshing drink. It's all part of their no-waste ethos. Butter itself, especially when salted, becomes a preservation marvel. The salt acts as a natural preservative, keeping bacteria at bay and extending the butter's shelf life to weeks or even months when stored in a cool place. Some Amish families take this a step further, storing their butter in stone crocks placed in cool cellars. These age-old storage techniques rival modern refrigeration in effectiveness and simplicity. There's nothing quite like fresh Amish butter. Spread it over warm, homemade bread, and it's an experience that borders on divine. It's creamy, rich, and a reminder that sometimes the simplest foods bring the greatest joy. Butter's value goes beyond its taste. For the Amish, it's a way to stretch the life of dairy without needing refrigeration. In emergencies, butter becomes a crucial source of calories and nutrition, easily stored and transported. Its versatility makes it a kitchen essential, whether for cooking, baking, or spreading. But the real magic lies in its cultural significance. Butter making isn't just a chore. It's a connection to the past, a physical act that ties modern Amish families to their ancestors. It's a reminder that hard work yields rewards, not just in the form of food, but in the satisfaction of self-reliance. If you'd like to do this at home, here's how you can do it step by step. You'll need about 2 cups of heavy cream. If you want a touch of salt for added flavour and preservation, keep a pinch on hand. The cream should be at room temperature, so let it sit out for an hour before starting. This step helps the churning process along, making the transformation smoother and faster. Some people even experiment with herbs or honey for a unique twist. But for your first attempt, plain salted butter is a great place to start. Once your cream is ready, the fun begins. Pour it into your chosen tool, a traditional butter churn if you want the full Amish experience, or a more modern option like a stand mixer, hand mixer, or even a mason jar. The process of turning cream into butter involves agitating it until it separates into butterfat and buttermilk. If you're using a stand mixer, start at a medium speed and let it run. For the mason jar method, secure the lid tightly and shake it with all the enthusiasm you can muster. After a few minutes, you'll notice the cream thickening, forming something similar to whipped cream. At this point, it's tempting to stop, but don't. Keep going and soon the cream will separate entirely, leaving you with soft clumps of butterfat floating in a thin, milky liquid known as buttermilk. Drain the buttermilk into a separate container. It's a byproduct you'll want to keep for baking or pancakes. What remains is your butter, but it's not quite finished yet. The next step is rinsing. Place the butter in a bowl and rinse it under cold water, gently kneading it with a spoon or spatula. This step removes any leftover buttermilk, which can cause the butter to spoil more quickly. As you knead, you'll notice the butter becoming smoother and more cohesive. Now comes the creative part, seasoning. Add a pinch of salt to enhance the flavour or leave it unsalted if you prefer a milder taste. If you're feeling adventurous, you can mix in herbs like rosemary or thyme for a savoury twist, or a drizzle of honey for a sweet, decadent version. Once seasoned, shape the butter however you like. Form it into a block, roll it into a ball, or press it into a decorative mould for a charming finish. Your butter is now ready to enjoy. Store it in an airtight container in the refrigerator, or if you want to embrace Amish-style preservation, keep it in a cool, dark cellar. The entire process takes about 20-30 minutes, but the result is undeniably rewarding. There's something profoundly satisfying about spreading homemade butter on a slice of fresh bread, knowing it came from your own hands. It's a small, delicious victory that connects us to a simpler time. Proof that even in a fast-paced world, the best things in life are worth a little extra effort. Butter is undeniably satisfying, but what if you could take dairy to the next level? With cheese. Cheese. If butter is the workhorse of Amish kitchens, cheese is the crown jewel. Turning milk into cheese is an art form, and for the Amish, it's a way of coaxing milk into its highest potential. The process begins with fresh milk, warmed gently and mixed with rennet to help it curdle. As curds and whey form, they're separated, and the curds are pressed, shaped, and salted. For hard cheeses like cheddar, Gouda, or Parmesan, this marks the start of a long aging process that transforms the cheese into a robust, flavourful treasure. Why hard cheeses? It's simple. They're built to last. Unlike soft varieties like brie or mozzarella, hard cheeses can endure for months, even years, making them the perfect choice for Amish families. Waxing is the secret weapon here. By coating the cheese in wax, they create a barrier that protects it from air and bacteria, allowing it to age gracefully in a cool, dark place. Imagine a wheel of cheddar nestled in the corner of a root cellar, quietly maturing next to baskets of potatoes. No fancy humidity-controlled caves are required, just practicality and a bit of patience. And the payoff? As cheese ages, its flavour intensifies, developing a depth and sharpness that's nothing short of magical. Some Amish cheddars even form tiny crystals over time, adding a satisfying crunch to every bite. I'll never forget visiting an Amish family during their cheese-making season. The kitchen was alive with activity, pots bubbling on the stove, the smell of milk and whey filling the air. They handed me a giant spoon and let me stir the curds, an experience I'll never forget. After just a few minutes, my arm was aching, but the kids working alongside me didn't seem fazed at all. We build our strength one wheel of cheddar at a time, one of them joked, grinning as they worked. Cheese isn't just a luxury, it's a lifeline. During the colder months, when milk production slows, a well-aged wheel of cheese becomes an essential source of nutrition. It's also a cornerstone of Amish meals, whether sliced onto bread, melted into casseroles, or simply enjoyed on its own. Its versatility and long shelf life make it indispensable, particularly in off-grid living or during emergencies. There's something enchanting about Amish cheese. A slice of well-aged cheddar can turn even the simplest meal into a feast, while Parmesan grated over pasta adds a touch of sophistication. And the best part? These cheeses are made with love, care, and a respect for tradition. Every wheel tells a story of patience, skill, and the joy of turning milk into something extraordinary. For the Amish, cheese isn't just food, it's a family heirloom. Each wheel, crafted with care and precision, carries a story that spans generations. The recipes, techniques, and even the subtle nuances of flavour are handed down like treasured secrets. I've had the privilege of tasting homemade Amish cheese, and let me tell you, it's a revelation. Even when I brought some back home and stored it in my kitchen, it seemed to improve with each passing day, as if it was patiently waiting to reveal its full character. Cutting into a wheel of Amish cheese is like unwrapping a gift. It feels momentous every time. And that's the thing about cheese. It's a lesson in patience, teaching us that the best things in life often take time. You can recreate this process in your own kitchen with just a few ingredients and a touch of patience. To begin your cheese-making journey, you'll need fresh milk, about a gallon for a small batch. Whole milk is best, as it retains the fat necessary for a rich, flavourful cheese. You'll also need rennet, an enzyme that helps milk curdle, and some cheese salt or kosher salt to enhance flavour and preserve the final product. If you're feeling adventurous, you can also add herbs or spices for a personalised touch. Start by gently heating the milk in a large pot over medium heat, stirring occasionally to prevent scorching. The goal is to bring the milk to a warm temperature, around 85 et 90 degrees, 29–38 degrees Celsius. Just enough to coax it into curdling without cooking it. Once warmed, add the rennet according to the package instructions. Stir it in gently, then cover the pot and let it sit undisturbed for about 30–40 minutes. During this time, the milk will begin to set, separating into curds and whey. When you check the pot, you'll notice a thick, custard-like layer on top. This is the curd. Using a long knife or a slotted spoon, cut the curd into small cubes. This step helps release more whey, which is the liquid portion of the milk. Gently stir the curds and heat the mixture a bit more, bringing it to around 105 degrees, 40 degrees. The curds will shrink slightly and firm up as they release even more whey. Next, it's time to strain. Pour the curds and whey into a cheesecloth-lined colander, allowing the whey to drain away. Save the whey. It's a protein-packed byproduct you can use in soups, baking, or even as a refreshing drink. Gather the edges of the cheesecloth and tie them together to form a pouch, then hang it over a bowl or sink to drain further. Depending on the type of cheese you're making, this step can take anywhere from a few hours to overnight. After draining, your cheese is ready for its final touches. Sprinkle it with salt to enhance the flavour and help preserve it. If you'd like, you can mix in fresh herbs or spices at this stage, creating a cheese that's uniquely yours. For soft cheeses, you're ready to enjoy it immediately. Spread on bread or crumbled over a salad. For harder cheeses like cheddar, you'll need to press it into a mould and let it age in a cool, dark place. Aging cheese is where the real magic happens. Over weeks or months, the cheese develops deeper flavours and textures, transforming into something truly extraordinary. If you're patient enough to let a block of cheddar age for a year, you'll be rewarded with sharp, crumbly perfection that rivals anything you'd find in a store. The beauty of cheese making lies in its versatility. With just a few simple steps, you can create anything from a soft, fresh ricotta to a dense, aged parmesan. The process is as much about creativity as it is about tradition, a way to connect with the past while crafting something entirely your own. There's nothing quite like the satisfaction of slicing into a wheel of homemade cheese, knowing the care and effort that went into every bite. It's a delicious reminder that with a little patience and ingenuity, milk can be transformed into something far greater than the sum of its parts. A culinary masterpiece that nourishes the body and feeds the soul. Cheese might steal the spotlight with its rich flavours and textures, but sometimes it's the simpler transformations that are the most fascinating. Let's uncover how the Amish use fermentation to turn milk into tasty and cultured delights. Fermentation. If cheese teaches patience, fermentation teaches transformation. To the untrained eye, it might seem like milk has gone bad, but to the Amish, it's simply evolving into something better. Fermentation is how raw milk becomes clabber, yogurt, and other tangy treats, extending its usability without the need for modern refrigeration. It's an ancient practice that turns milk into a whole new category of flavours and textures. What's truly fascinating about fermentation is its simplicity. The process doesn't require fancy equipment or constant supervision. Just raw milk, a bit of time, and the right environment. Leave milk sitting out in a cool room or cellar, and instead of a sour disaster, you'll find thickened, cultured goodness waiting for you. It's the kind of no-fuss preservation method that feels like a quiet rebellion against the modern obsession with expiration dates. One of the shining stars of Amish kitchens is clabber, a creamy, yogurt-like result of naturally fermented milk. It's humble but delicious, often spread over warm cornbread or biscuits. Its tangy richness adds depth to meals, making it a versatile staple. Historically, clabber was a breakfast favourite among early settlers, a practical way to use milk that might otherwise go to waste. In a world where nothing is thrown away, fermented milk becomes a lifeline. I'll admit, clabber can be an acquired taste. I remember visiting an Amish farm where the lady of the house proudly handed me a spoonful. I hesitated, unsure what to expect. But one bite was all it took. The tangy, velvety texture won me over instantly. It wasn't just delicious, it was deeply satisfying. The kind of food that feels nourishing in every sense of the word. In emergencies or long-term off-grid living, fermented milk products become essential, providing not only sustenance, but also a way to maintain health. The Amish use fermented milk in countless ways. Clabber can be eaten on its own, added to recipes, or even used as a starter culture for other fermentation projects. It's incredibly versatile, showing up in everything from baking to sauces, adding a depth of flavour that fresh milk simply can't replicate. Fermentation isn't rushed, it's allowed to unfold naturally, guided by the environment. For the Amish, it's another way to honour the gifts of nature and the rhythm of time. While many of us might toss milk the moment it passes its best-by date, the Amish see potential. Fermentation turns milk into something not just edible, but extraordinary. Proof that sometimes letting go of control yields the best results. The best part about fermentation is it's surprisingly easy to replicate at home. To start your fermentation journey, you'll need raw milk if you can find it, as it contains the natural bacteria that fuel the fermentation process. If raw milk isn't available, pasteurized milk will work too. Just make sure it hasn't been ultra-pasteurized, as the high heat can disrupt the natural structure needed for fermentation. For added control, you might also use a starter culture, which helps kickstart the process and ensures consistent results. Begin by pouring your milk into a clean glass or ceramic container. The container should be large enough to allow the milk to breathe, but small enough to maintain a stable environment. If you're using a starter culture, mix it into the milk now, stirring gently to distribute it evenly. Cover the container with a breathable cloth or coffee filter and secure it with a rubber band to keep out dust and pests while allowing air to flow. Place the container in a cool, slightly warm spot, around 70-75 degrees, 21-24 degrees Celsius, and let nature do the rest. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, the bacteria in the milk will work their magic, breaking down lactose and producing lactic acid. This acid not only gives fermented milk its characteristic tangy flavour, but also acts as a natural preservative, extending the milk's shelf life. As the milk ferments, you'll notice it thickening and developing a rich, tangy aroma. Once it reaches your desired level of tartness, the fermentation process is complete. At this point, you can refrigerate the fermented milk to slow down further fermentation and enjoy it in a variety of ways. So, if you've ever wondered about trying your hand at fermentation, there's no better time to start. Fermentation is all about patience and transformation, but kefir takes that idea and adds a fizzy, flavourful twist. Kefir. This fizzy and tasty drink might be less familiar than butter or cheese, but it's no less impressive, made using kefir grains. Kefir starts its journey as simple milk, but thanks to the grains, it transforms into a nutrient-packed powerhouse. The Amish have embraced kefir as both a nourishing beverage and a natural remedy, valuing its probiotic benefits for gut health and digestion. Once fermented, kefir keeps exceptionally well in a cool place, making it an ideal choice for long-term dairy preservation. The first time I tried kefir, I wasn't sure what to expect. Growing up, milk was always smooth and predictable. But kefir, it was a bubbly, tangy revelation. Imagine a cross between yogurt and sparkling water, with a kick of tartness that wakes up your taste buds. It's the kind of drink that challenges your expectations in the best way possible. What makes kefir even more exciting is its versatility. It can be made from a variety of milks: cow, goat, or even sheep, each lending its own unique flavour to the final product. Amish families often experiment with different milks, creating batches that range from mild and creamy to bold and tangy. This experimentation turns kefir making into a delightful science project, where every batch offers something new. Kefir's uses extend beyond the glass too. It can be incorporated into baking, added to smoothies, or even used as a marinade for meats. For the Amish, it's a staple not just for humans, but for livestock as well. I once saw an Amish farmer feeding kefir to his cows, and when I asked why, he explained with a smile, "Happy cows make better milk." It's very easy to make this at home. To get started, you'll need kefir grains, which are not grains in the traditional sense, but rather clusters of bacteria and yeast that look like tiny, translucent cauliflower florets. You can use cow's milk, goat's milk, or even sheep's milk. Each one offers a slightly different flavour profile, so feel free to experiment. Begin by placing 1-2 tablespoons of kefir grains into a clean glass jar. Add about 2 cups of milk, making sure to leave some space at the top for the fermentation process. Cover the jar with a breathable cloth or coffee filter and secure it with a rubber band. This allows air to flow while keeping out dust and pests. Next, find a cosy spot for your jar. Kefir thrives at room temperature, ideally between 68 degrees 78 degrees, 28 26 degrees Celsius. Leave the jar undisturbed for 24 to 48 hours, depending on how tangy you like your kefir. During this time, the kefir grains will work their magic, breaking down lactose and producing lactic acid, carbon dioxide, and a host of beneficial probiotics. The result is a slightly fizzy, creamy drink with a tangy flavour that's uniquely its own. Once the fermentation is complete, strain the kefir into a clean jar using a plastic or non-metal strainer. This separates the grains from the liquid. The grains can be reused for your next batch, so give them a gentle rinse with fresh milk and store them in a small amount of milk until you're ready to use them again. Whether you enjoy it plain, blended with fruit, or as part of your favourite recipe, kefir is a reminder that even the humblest ingredients can be transformed into something extraordinary. Kefir may dance to its own funky beat, but let's not forget one of the simplest yet most powerful tools in dairy preservation: salt. Salt isn't just a seasoning for the Amish, it's a preservation powerhouse, a secret weapon in their fight against spoilage. This humble mineral works its magic across Amish kitchens, turning butter, cheese and other dairy products into long-lasting staples. It's a perfect example of how simplicity can be transformative. Take butter, for instance. Once churned, Amish families mix in just the right amount of salt, a practice that's more science than guesswork. The salted butter is then packed into stone crocks or tightly sealed jars, which might even be buried halfway underground in a cool cellar. The steady temperature keeps the butter fresh for months, far beyond the life of unsalted varieties. This isn't just about practicality, it's about tradition. Each family has its own method, passed down through generations, creating a legacy of recipes that taste of heritage. Cheese benefits from salt in a different but equally remarkable way. Hard cheeses like cheddar are either rubbed down with salt or soaked in brine, a saltwater solution so potent it could rival the salinity of the Dead Sea. This method not only preserves the cheese, but also enhances its flavour, allowing it to age gracefully over time. A well-salted wheel of Amish cheddar can sit quietly on a shelf, growing sharper and tastier as the weeks turn into months. For Amish households, these cheese wheels aren't just food, they're culinary treasures, waiting to take centre stage at Sunday suppers. Salt does more than preserve, it transforms. It locks out harmful bacteria, enhances natural flavours, and ensures dairy products stay fresh without refrigeration. In Amish communities where modern conveniences are scarce, salt becomes a lifeline. I'll never forget the first time I tasted salted Amish butter. A friend handed me a warm slice of bread topped with a golden pat of butter, and I expected the usual. Instead, the salt hit my taste buds like a perfectly timed symphony, zingy, rich, and completely unforgettable. It wasn't just butter, it was an experience. Even beyond its culinary benefits, salt is a symbol of resilience. In a world where refrigeration is often taken for granted, the Amish demonstrate that with just a pinch of salt and a bit of ingenuity, dairy can be preserved for weeks or even months. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. Salt plays a crucial role in preserving dairy. But what happens when milk takes a slightly tasty turn? Sour cream is proof that sometimes letting nature do its thing can lead to something extraordinary. Sour cream. Sour cream is the unsung hero of Amish dairy preservation, a creamy, tangy delight that's both versatile and enduring. It's a little quirky, a bit unexpected, but undeniably delicious. For the Amish, making sour cream is a straightforward process that highlights their knack for letting nature take the lead. To make sour cream, Amish families often let raw milk sit out to sour naturally. Sometimes they add special cultures to speed up the process, but the principle remains the same. Allow milk to evolve at its own pace. The lactic acid produced during fermentation not only creates that signature tangy flavour, but also acts as a natural preservative, extending the cream's shelf life significantly. Stored in a cool environment, sour cream can last for weeks, ideal for a wide variety of uses, from drizzling over baked potatoes to stirring into hearty soups. The transformation is almost magical. What starts as simple cream becomes a thick, tangy staple that can elevate any meal. And the best part? It requires no fancy tools or technology, just patience and an understanding of nature's rhythms. I'll admit, I was hesitant the first time I tried homemade sour cream. Sour milk, I thought, that can't be good. But one bite was all it took to change my mind. Spread on a warm piece of cornbread, the creaminess balanced with a subtle tang. It was a flavour explosion I hadn't expected. It made me question every store-bought version I'd ever tasted. None of them came close. For the Amish, sour cream isn't just a condiment, it's a kitchen essential. Its versatility is unmatched. Dollop it on chili, mix it into pancake batter for an extra fluffiness, or use it as a base for dips and dressings. The possibilities are endless, and the results are always satisfying. Sour cream embodies the essence of Amish ingenuity. It's a way to extend the life of dairy, but it's also a celebration of the simple, the natural, and the timeless. Even as it sits quietly in a jar, sour cream carries the spirit of sustainability, showing us how patience can turn something ordinary into something extraordinary. And the best part? You can try it at home, leave cream out to ferment, or introduce a starter culture to speed up the process. Keep it in a cool spot, and within a day or two, you'll have your own batch of sour cream. Thick, tangy, and bursting with character. Sour cream might not get the same attention as butter or cheese, but it deserves its place in the spotlight. It's a testament to the Amish way of life, where nothing is wasted and everything is given a chance to shine. With its rich flavour and practicality, sour cream reminds us that even the simplest foods can be elevated through tradition and care.